record a little bit of commentary here because I want to go over crafting and I want to make sure anybody who comes in and plays Elder Scrolls Online for the first time really has a good idea of what you got to do to craft. It isn't like a lot of current MMOs. I had to really fiddle around and figure out how to craft because there is no tutorial in Elder Scrolls Online when it comes to crafting. You have to figure it out on your own. And you can look at a book and kind of get an idea how to do it, but it doesn't really tell you. So anyway, crafting is divvied up by racial. And here I'm a dark elf. And if you're a dark elf, every time you craft material, you have to have obsidian as a crafting item. And each race has its own gem it uses to craft an item. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to refine material. Picking up material for crafting isn't really any different from a lot of MMOs. You find it, you loot it, whatever you got to do, and you refine it. And after you refine it, you can actually use it to make your weapons or armor, whichever it is you're doing. And right here, I got to make room in my inventory because I'm full right now. I'm gonna vendor a few items just to clear up room here. Okay, I've got enough room. Excuse me. And now I'm gonna refine material and make it ready to craft. And if you look, I got pitch, 2 pitches. Pitch is used to improve an item, and I'll show you how to do it here in a minute. But first off, I've got my refined material. I have my racial gem. I don't have any. I don't have any gems to put a trait on my bow I'm about to make, but I'm going to run over here to my bank and just make sure I don't have any trait gems, because a trait can improve your weapon quite a bit, and if you can, you definitely want to do it, especially if it just depends on what level you are. You know, at lower levels like I am right now, you know, you're going to keep upgrading your weapons pretty quick. But you know, if you're like me, you look at your armor and you want to have as good as armor as you can, but it really comes down to your weapon. You want to have as good a weapon as you can equip at all times. And I don't know how much it matters to gameplay. I mean, combat isn't incredibly difficult, but just by nature, I like to have, you know, a good, whether, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of build I'm in, I want to have a good weapon. Above all, you know, armor's great, but, you know, I want to be well armed for whatever fight I'm going to get into. So I'm just looking at my bank and trying to figure out if I have any, if I have a reagent required to improve a weapon or add a trait to it, which I actually don't, but I wanted to check anyway just to make sure, because a trait can help a lot. My current weapon has a trait to increase your crit percentage, and more critting is always good. But anyway, I'm going back to the vendor now, or the Tradeskill area, and I'm going to make a few bows and just show you what you got to do and go over deconstructing a little bit, and how important it is to deconstruct items that you create as you go along. So I've got all I need just to make a regular bow. To make a higher level weapon, you have to use more material. So I'm going to crank it up a little bit. I'm actually level 15, but for maple I can't go higher than level 14. So I'm going to make a level 14 bow. Okay, I've created it, and now I'm going to go and I'm going to deconstruct it and get a little bit of material back. And I'm going to deconstruct it while I'm at it, and I got a pitch out of it, which is good. And I'll show you what pitch does here in a minute. Okay, pitch improves a weapon, and really all it does is it adds damage to it. And I'll go back here. And if you look at it, you can improve a weapon a lot. And as you add more pitch, it improves your chances of improving a weapon. If you try to improve a weapon and it isn't at 100% chance, if it's 80% or lower, and you don't improve it, it'll be destroyed. So you definitely, if you have a good weapon, you want to make sure you're at 100%. You have enough pitch for 100% chance to improve it, which I did. And it added 5 damage to the damage of that bow, which is good. Is exactly what I was looking for. You want to have, as good a weapon as you can equip, or as you can make. And I'm just going to go ahead and deconstruct it here in a minute. Now, if you want to add a trait, first thing you have to do is research it, and you have to have a trait in your enchanted. It isn't enchanted. I don't know how to put it, but you have to have a trait attribute in your inventory in order to research it. And you have to research it, and you have to have a trait gem in your inventory in order to add a trait you've researched. If you look down at the bottom where it has trait, those red icons to your right, it means I don't have the gem I need to actually add a trait to my weapon. And I was hoping as I deconstructed weapons that I would get a trait gem, because you can pull those out of a deconstruct, but unfortunately I never did. But anyway, if you go here to your crafting abilities and you go to, for what I'm doing, it's wood extraction, you can put a point into it, and when you do, it improves your chances of getting, it can be additional refinement material, or it can be pitch, an improvement material, or it can be a trait material every time you deconstruct an item. And by improving your chances of extracting all that stuff, it really matters, because I did a lot of crafting before I put a point into wood extraction, and I could definitely tell after I put a point into it I was getting a lot more returns when I deconstructed items. And right here apparently I hit kind of a bad streak, and I didn't get much out of what I deconstructed, but overall you get a lot back out of it. Like here example, I get obsidian, which means I don't have to go to the vendor and pay 15 gold for an obsidian to make another bow. I can just keep every time I deconstruct it. I'm getting obsidian and or refined maple, which allows me to just keep cranking out more bows. But really, when you're deconstructing, you're looking for trait gems, and you don't really want to create an item until you have enough pitch, and which pitch is what you use to improve bows. You don't want to you don't want to try and improve a bow until you have 5 pitch, which gives you a 100% chance to improve it. And then you don't want to create it until you have a trait gem or reagent, whatever you want to call it, to add a trait to that weapon while you're making it. Like if you look at my bow here, it already has a trait improvement. And right here, I'm recharging it. If you've played older Elder Scrolls games, you know about soul gems and using them to refill charges on your weapon. It doesn't work much different here. There's actually a vendor you can buy empty soul gems or filled soul gems. There's actually an ability which allows you to fill soul gems, and it works just like I can't remember what it was called in Skyrim, but you could cast a spell on an enemy, or even have an enchant on your weapon where it would fill soul gems every time an enemy died. But it's just a little bit different in Elder Scrolls Online, because here, you can look at it right here, and I've got an enchant, and I can use each enchant is used for different items. You can have a jewelry enchant, an army enchant, or armor enchant, or a weapon enchant. And to improve each different type of item, you actually have to go into your inventory and right click on it. If you've got I don't know, just plain old gloves, and you want to add an enchant to it, you're going to right click on it, and if you have a glyph in your inventory for enchanting, it'll give you the option of using that glyph to improve that item. It covers most of your, just a lot of stats, or your typical improvement that you can make to an item. But again, I'm at low level. I haven't totally figured out every type of enchant you can get, but for the most part, you're going to definitely benefit from enchanting. And you want to keep an eye out for any enchantment items. And if you want, you can just buy an enchantment off a vendor. It isn't going to be really high quality, but it'll be convenient. You can just walk up to a vendor and go, all right, here's what I want. It may not be incredible, but it'll definitely help me. You can get a good armor enchant, or a good weapon enchant, or a jewelry enchant, depending on what you want or what you can afford. I don't know why, but I went back here and I'm making more bows. I'm just going to keep making them until I run out of material. I was really hoping to extract a trait reagent, and for whatever reason, I just had really bad luck here. I'm just going to keep making bows for a little bit.
Duty to the tribunal. All day long.
What can I do for you?
Oh, okay. Now here I'm going to show you what provisioning does for you. It allows you to make food. You can increase your stamina, magicka, your hit points. It can improve a bunch of different stats on your character, but because I use a bow a lot, stamina is what I generally go for. And I actually had a different character make my food for me, and then I just bank it and pick it up on my Nightblade
Oh
here.
my, that's pleasant.
And I'm gonna go. If I can make up my mind of what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna buy an enchant, and I'm gonna show you what an enchant does and how to apply it to your gear. And a vendor here, she's got all kinds of them. And I've got to look around, and I want to get an armor enchant. I'm just going to look around until I find what I want. Yeah, I mean, whatever you're looking for, you can buy an enchantment off a vendor if you don't, you know, if you don't feel like getting into enchanting. I'll show you a little bit of enchanting here in a minute, but I mean, just to make it quick and convenient, you can go to a vendor and get. It might be a crappy enchant, but it is going to improve you. It'll improve your weapon or your armor or your jewelry, whichever one you want to improve. And I picked up an armor enchantment. I'm going to choose a piece of armor that doesn't have an enchantment on it already. You right click on it, you click enchant, and you choose which glyph, enchantment glyph you want to apply towards it. Click enchant, and you've got it. I didn't feel like enchanting was or is as intuitive in Elder Scrolls Online as it is in Skyrim. I mean, it'll work, you can do it, but it took me longer to kind of figure it out and really apply it. And now I'm just randomly looking at my ability tree for whatever reason. I don't know why. I definitely like using bows. Any MMO or RPG I get into, I always try to use a bow. And I know in Elder Scrolls Online, there's a little bit of talk about bows and people talking about them being overpowered. And I'd hate for them to get nerfed just because of PvP, or a few whiners are talking about bows being overpowered. As far as the actual how bows feel in Elder Scrolls Online, it's pretty good. To me, WoW has a really great feeling of archery and using a bow. Oh, this is pretty cool. Here's where I'm making an enchantment here. And you have to have one of each type of enchantment. Yeah, it's totally different from Skyrim, but it's pretty cool. Just watch when I'm making enchantment. Yeah, I like it. even now I've done a little bit of enchanting, but I haven't totally figured it out. I've got runes I can't use yet. I'm not really sure what I have to do to be able to use them or use them in crafting. Uh, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying not to go online and just read an explanation of how to do it, just because I like to figure out a little bit on my own. And enchanting's, it's kind of a magical trade skill. It makes it a little bit different, a little more mysterious than your typical, armor or weapon trade skill. So I'm just trying to, take my time and enjoy learning it from scratch, and just kind of feel my way around until I figure out how to do it. But here again, you when you do an enchantment, or when you create an enchantment word, you create a glyph. And it's no different from a glyph that you buy from a vendor. All you got to do is, if you want to enchant an item, right click on it, choose a glyph you just made, and apply it towards that item, and you're done. Anyway, I don't, you know, trade skills are fun. It adds a layer